They gather like they always did, under the warm summer sun, laughing, chatting, children playing in the dust. But by the end of the day, one of them would be stoned to death by their own neighbors, not in secret, not in shame, but as a tradition, a ritual, a duty. This wasn't ancient history. This was America. And this wasn't fiction, at least not entirely. Shirley Jackson's A Lottery was inspired by a terrifying truth we still live with. Our ability to commit unthinkable acts, not in rage, but in order. When the New Yorker published A Lottery in 1948, the reaction was instant and ferocious. Readers were outraged. Subscriptions were canceled. Hate mail poured in. Why? Because Jackson hadn't written fantasy. She had held up a mirror. The story depicts a small town that conducts a yearly lottery, an ordinary, almost boring event. That is, until it ends with one citizen being executed by the rest, using stones. Men, women, even children take part. It's a civic event. Normal. Expected. Jackson never explained the town's origins or the purpose of the ritual. And that's what made it so haunting, because it left one disturbing question hanging in the air. Would you have thrown a stone, too? The story taps into one of the darkest corners of human behavior, groupthink. It's the psychological phenomenon where the desire for harmony overrides moral judgment. In the lottery, no one speaks up. No one questions the rules. Even when the victim protests, asterisk, it isn't fair, it isn't right. Asterisk, the town carries on. Why? Because the moment you step into a group, your identity shifts. You're no longer you. You're us. And us can justify almost anything. Psychologist Solomon Asch demonstrated this with his conformity experiments. People willingly gave wrong answers just to fit in. Milgram's obedience study showed participants would deliver lethal shocks if an authority told them to. But Jackson didn't need a lab. She saw it in post-war America, in McCarthyism, in blind patriotism, in mob mentality. She saw how cruelty hides in tradition and how we protect our monsters with the word normal. Perhaps the most disturbing part? No one remembers why the lottery exists. The slips of paper, the black box, it's all ritual. Passed down, preserved, repeated. There's always been a lottery, one elder mutters, as if that's reason enough. Tradition, unchecked, becomes a weapon. It's the excuse we use when we don't want to think too hard, when we don't want to feel responsible. It's just the way things are. That line has justified stonings, witch hunts, segregations, genocides. And Jackson knew that all too well. Her story was inspired, in part, by real rural communities, where cruelty wasn't loud or messy, it was polite, institutionalized, hidden beneath smiles and Sunday dresses. So how do people commit these acts without guilt? Psychologist Albert Bandura called it moral disengagement. It's the mental gymnastics we perform to detach from the harm we cause. In the story, no one feels like a murderer. They're just following the process, picking the paper, throwing a stone. That's how cruelty spreads. Not with evil villains twirling mustaches, but with ordinary people avoiding eye contact, doing what's expected, protecting themselves by blending in. The true horror of the lottery isn't the stoning. It's the fact that no one questions it. And it begs the real question. What rituals do we participate in without ever asking why? What social norms are we complicit in because they're safe or comfortable, or because everyone else is doing it? Maybe the lottery wasn't fiction at all. Maybe it was a warning. And maybe it's still happening. We like to believe we're better now, more evolved, more moral. But history and psychology suggest otherwise. Cruelty doesn't vanish. It adapts. And unless we confront it in ourselves, we'll keep drawing names from the same black box. Think about that the next time you find yourself going along with something, just because it's always been done that way. Subscribe if you're ready to challenge tradition, expose groupthink, and explore the uncomfortable truths that define who we really are. Because the first step to breaking the cycle is seeing the stones in our own hands.